Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I am here with a different kind of video that I thought about actually doing instead of another Christmas movie review. So I took a break from that today. I'm going to be doing another franchise ranking video, and this video is going to be for ranking the Shrek movies. I mean, because I decided to do a franchise ranking. I haven't done a franchise ranking in kind of a bit of a while, since X-Men, so I'm actually going to be ranking all 4 of the Shrek movies. I'm not going to include Puss in Boots, guys, because, well, Puss in Boots isn't really a Shrek movie, it's more of a spin-off, so I just want to include the 4 Shrek films. So, let's start things off with my second favorite film in this series, and that would be the first film, Shrek. Basically, this film was the film that kickstarted DreamWorks Animation, and won the first ever Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and was in the works for kind of a long time, and of course was originally going to have Chris Farley voice the character, but then he died, unfortunately. May he rest in peace. So they got Mike Myers to do the role. And when it was released in May 2001, it was a terrific animated feature. It had so many crude windows, but it had a perfect message that could still make it appropriate enough for kids. What's this film about? Well, of course it is set in a very far away swamp where there's an ogre named Shrek, whose precious solitude is suddenly shared by an invasion of annoying fairy tale characters. They were all banished from their kingdom by the evil Lord Farquaad. Determined to save their home, not to mention his, Shrek cuts a deal with Farquaad and sets out to rescue Princess Fiona, who is soon to be Farquaad's bride. Rescuing the princess may be small compared to her deep, dark secret. Here's why this film rocks so much. It's got very great soundtrack, specifically All Star by Smash Mouth, which is pretty much now just a meme anywhere you go. The soundtrack helps to enhance the experience, and the movie wouldn't work without these songs. It's a great animation, especially compared to the 2001 standards for animation. All the characters even break off all their cliches their source material depicts them to be, as well as making various elements from timelines or outside cultures with the characters to make up very hilarious moments like Fiona practicing karate and pop music being playing the story. A great story with pop culture references that actually have to do with the movie's plot, unlike most animated features nowadays that just include them in there just to be hit with the modern world. The pop culture references actually mean something. Something a lot of anime features I wish actually realized why the pop cultures in this movie actually work so well. It's very amazing dialogue, some complex character designs, and especially some excellent voice acting especially from Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy. I think Donkey would have to be Eddie Murphy's best role, in my opinion, and a very positive portrayal of antagonistic. It's great characters, especially great character in Shrek. Some multiple jokes and lines of dialogue that are really funny, such as "What are you doing in my swamp?" And of course, it's got a very excellent moral too about accepting others for who they are and love yourself no matter what you look like. Another thing a lot of animated features often milk nowadays. And since Shrek was made as a form of revenge from DreamWorks towards Disney, there's often Disney references throughout the film that make fun of Disney's traditional tales, and they work really well. In fact, actually this movie was made to mock Disney. Even though it's a parody, this Shrek story is actually original because it uses old ideas and it turns it to be a unique film. And while Farquaad contradicts Shrek's message, it subverts the antagonist formula, which is actually surprising, something you also rarely can ever find. And I also love the very beautiful score from Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell, especially the opening theme Fairy Tale, which was eventually used as the music for DreamWorks Animation from 2004 to 2017. Now, of course, there's some bad qualities, there are some suggestive moments that can be considered a little too inappropriate for a family movie, and like when Shrek and Donkey arrived at Farquaad's castle and look at how large it is, they ask each other, "Do you think he's compensating for something?" Which they both lied. And Farquaad's name actually sounds like a swear if you say it fast enough. It is a typical misunderstanding cliche. Yeah, specifically where Shrek thinks Fiona was talking garbage about him, even though she actually was technically talking garbage about herself, but some aspects of the movie don't really age well. The lighting is kind of a little poor at times, and There's some gross out humor, but to be fair, the gross out humor actually kind of works for this movie. Despite the film being about loving yourself for who you are despite your appearance, they make fun of Farquhar being searched, which sort of contradicts the message, but I can let all those bad qualities slide. And how I'd rank this movie, I'd rank it a 9 out of 10. It's probably the second best of the series, and because, well, what truly is the best movie of the series would definitely have to be Shrek 2 from 2004, which was actually one of the very first movies I saw in the theaters as a kid. And what's, well, this one about? Well, after Shrek and Fiona return from their honeymoon after the end of the first one and show home movies to their friends, Shrek and Fiona learn that their parents have heard that she has married her true love and wish to invite him to their kingdom, called Far, Far Away. The catch is, Fiona's parents aren't aware of the curse that struck their daughter and have assumed she married Prince Charming, not a 700-pound ogre with horrible hygiene and a talking donkey pal. And this one is actually even better than the first one, and it's rare for a sequel to be better than the first one. And here's why: like the soundtrack is also great, like "Accidentally in Love" and "Living La Vida Loca," and continues to expand on the story of the original. Great animation at the step up from the first movie. Use of foreshadow is great, especially with King Harold, who's actually one of the best father figures in animation history ever. And like even though he's like a jerk at first, he's actually turned out to be such a great character in the end. And great story with tons of great moments, hilarious jokes and pop culture references. Is especially like specifically the climax where Shrek and his friends invade the castle to a cover of Holding Out for a Hero is probably one of my favorite sequences in a movie ever. One of my favorite climaxes ever. And location is very creative, like how the Kingdom of Far Far Away looks like Hollywood. It's just such an amazingly beautiful design. I like how they did that. And once again, like the first film, epic voice acting, especially from newcomer Antonio Banderas, who voiced easily my favorite comic relief of the series, and that's Puss in Boots. The characters are still likable, especially the new characters. Use of product placement is actually subtle and creative and doesn't overuse it. It actually uses a few fairy tale like puns into it. Like, and once again, I've already mentioned Puss in Boots as every character that he even got his own spin-off film and even a few shows on Netflix. And the fairy godmother is probably most imitating antagonist of the series, and probably my favorite antagonist of the Shrek series and stuff. And now the bad qualities, and it kind of focuses more on spoofing pop culture than what it is supposed to spoof, which is classic fairy tales. But despite that, guys, I would give this movie a full-on 10 out of 10. It's my favorite film in the Shrek series, and nothing else can really surpass it. Even if they do end up making a fifth one, it's not even going to surpass this. Because, well, speaking of that, after we got my favorite Shrek movie, we then went and we got the worst one, and that is probably Shrek the Third. Oh my god, oh my god. Let's just get this one out of the way. What this movie's about: once King Harold suddenly dies, Shrek learns he will have to rule the land of Far, Far Away unless he can find a suitable heir to the throne. The most promising candidate is Princess Fiona's cousin Artie, a teenage slacker in medieval high school. Shrek and his trusted companions, Donkey and Puss in Boots, set out to bring Artie back but find their mission is a bigger challenge than they expected. I'm going to list all the bad qualities. One, it's so inferior to the first two Shrek films. It lacks that charm and charisma of the first two. Almost literally every joke is tasteless and unfunny compared to the first two, specifically when Shrek accidentally injures a guy by putting his sword into his shoulder while practicing knighting. And it lacks most of the characteristic things in the previous two films and its follow-up Shrek Forever After. It's the only film in the series that does not even begin with the character reading a fairy tale, lacks an appearance of Fiona's human form, and does not end with a dance party. Like, it's even, like, it can even feel way too dark for a children's film, like, due to the fact there's surprisingly a large count of casualties in this film, like where Shrek accidentally caused that ship to sink, as dozens of people were killed in the process, and the deaths of King Jarl and Prince Charming, respectively, especially, like, and even, like, Shrek's nightmare. Oh, God. Don't even get me started on that nightmare he has with the babies, especially. Do not even get me started on Donkey's Dada. Well, when he has that ogre head in Shrek's nightmare, like, that is probably the most one of the most cringeworthy moments in a movie I've ever seen, like ever. The fairy tale creatures are literally pointless, like specifically like the friends he made in the first two films, and they don't even contribute a thing to the plot. Shrek becoming a father with babies is really generic and predictable. And despite the animation being improved in the previous two films, the visuals are so bland as well. And while the first two acts have decent moments, the third act feels it's so predictable and unfunny. Like all this finale is basically Shrek just giving your mama jokes to Prince Charming throughout most of the play scene near the end, and it's not even really exciting. And King Harold's death was really stupid in this film, cause like he did not have one; he had like two fake out deaths before he died for real. And we're supposed to find it heartbreaking and serious when he dies, but it's too. But it gets filled with too many pointless and funny gags. Like so much. And then Prince Charming is supposed to be viewed as the main antagonist, but he's just basically treated as his punching bag more of than a villain, really. So we kind of feel a little bad for him, which we're even though we're not supposed to. And he's not even a great antagonist, especially compared to Farquaad, Rumpelstiltskin, or Fairy Godmother, and and a subplot. And I also do not like the subplot of Puss and Donkey's bodies being switched in style of Freaky Friday, because all it really does is just give the duo something to do. Because since they also don't really contribute much to this movie. And and then of course Artie being bullied all the time in school and being unpopular is a weak character decision for a main character. And even though I did think Justin Timberlake was fine for what he was given as the voice of Artie, and there's even too many protagonists in this movie, and also it doesn't even have an impact on the Shrek franchise and contributes to nothing. Like you could even just skip this movie and go straight to Shrek Forever After, and they wouldn't even miss a thing. So basically, this whole movie was kind of pointless. Now, there are at least still a few good qualities, like the animation is an improvement, movement at times, and so there's still some amazing voice acting, and it's and like Seth Rogen actually does make a decent, unrecognizable cameo as a sailor. As mentioned above, some of the song choices are decent, but they're nowhere near as good as the previous films. And when Prince Charming is a weak antagonist, his decision to take over Far, Far Away and avenge his deceased mother is actually kind of justified and reasonable. And I did like the scene where Shrek and already talked about their fathers, like their fathers, and I did like Eric Idle's character Merlin was actually really funny, probably the only funny thing of the whole movie. And Artie's speech at the end was actually a pretty nice message, but all in all, this is easily the worst Shrek movie, and I would give it a 4.5 out of 10. However, thankfully we somehow got this somewhat better Shrek movie, but still not an epic movie like the first two, and that would be Shrek Forever After or Shrek the Final Chapter. And this one is about long settled into married life and fully domesticated, Shrek begins to long for the days when he felt like a real ogre. Dubbed into signing a contract with devious Rumpelstiltskin, he finds himself in an alternate version of Far, Far Away, where ogres are hunted. Rumpelstiltskin rules, and he and Fiona never met. Shrek must find a way out of the contract to restore his world and reclaim his true love. Now, when it was released, I thought it was like just okay. Really, it was definitely better to watch than that horrible Shrek the Third film, and I'll list a good quality as well. This film at least has respect for the franchise. The first one especially. Some great animation, still some great animation, still good voice acting, and definitely much more funny moments like funny moments in this film, mm, and Rumpelstiltskin and the Pied Piper were very entertaining antagonists. And one of the ogre's Cookie was actually a pretty likable character. The main characters were still likable to put in the new original light, and some emotional poignant moments like when Shrek's nearly about to die and he tells the alternate universe Fiona that the best part of the day was when he got to fall in love with her all over again before he temporarily dies. And went back in his universe, he tells Fiona that it was she who really saved him from his dragon's keep, which I thought was a very beautiful last scene for the franchise. And I thought it was a perfect way, and it kind of the reason why I kind of don't want a Shrek 5, because that scene was a perfect way to end the franchise for me, and this will be the true end of the series. And the credits combine many scenes from the previous three films, and it's a nice send-off for Shrek. That's not for Shrek, and to me, it's the true send-off to Shrek, for me. The bad qualities are, it's very unoriginal, and it steals or retrieves elements from not only the first one, but also It's a Wonderful Life, Back to the Future, and the Disney animated movie The Little Mermaid. Of course, this one didn't really feel like a fairy tale movie at all. It feels more like a War Against Society style film. It still kind of contains some very inappropriate dialogue and some of the jokes and attempts at humor were very unnecessary, disgusting, and kind of cruel. And of course, I did not like the opening scene where Shrek says to Fiona's face that he would be better off if he had never rescued her from the Dragon's Keep, which I thought was very, like, really mean-spirited and really uncharacteristic of the character, even though he kind of was going through a crisis at that time. So at least kind of makes sense because everyone was being kind of rude around him and kind of bugging him to the point where it caused him to be kind of mad. So yeah. But all in all, how would I rank Shrek Forever After? Well, I'd rank it a 7.5 out of 10. It's not as good as the first two movies, but it's certainly a massive improvement over Shrek the Third, and even though I'm not going to include Puss in Boots in this, you're probably wondering what I would rank Puss in Boots. Well, I would rank that film an 8 out of 10. So yeah. Here's how it goes. Number 1 best, Shrek 2. Second place, the first film, Shrek. Third place, Puss in Boots. Fourth place, Shrek Forever After. And bottom worst, Shrek the Third. That's pretty much how I would rank the Shrek movies. And until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.